So with all the other upgrades to my Jeep, it was time to get a regear done to get some of that power back that was robbed when I did the lift, tire, and wheels. So let me just start by saying it's been a while since the Jeep has been stock, but it's still running the stock 410 gearing. And when it was stock, 410s were great. With 32-inch tires on the stock ride height, didn't have any problems with power. But now that we're lifted and with 37s, it is sluggish. As you can see here, we're running at low RPMs, but it takes a long time to get up to speed. I think when we get to 60, 65, it's just barely above 2,000 RPMs. And it's a drain on the transmission, I could tell. So we're underpowered, and to get that back, I need to re-gear. So I finally had the means and the time to get this done. So I chose to go with 513 gears. Not a popular gearing for what I'm running with 37s, but I know that I'm sitting at 5,700 pounds now, and I know I'm going to add more weight. So I just figured it was a better choice for me, especially off road. I hear it's crawls great on the taller gears, so that's what I chose. So here is what representation of what the Jeep is like with 410 gears, but we'll be switching soon. So it's March 9th, and I picked the Jeep up from the shop with the new 513 gears. Oh my gosh, I'm so impressed just right off the bat. So much more low end torque, low end power. It's been a long time since I remember what stock felt like, but I definitely feel like this is more powerful than it was stock. Because I'm running a taller gear. Most people run 488 gears, and I decided to go 513s. I don't think I'm going to regret that. The 4x4 shop actually tried to talk me out of the 513s. He warned me that the RPMs would be higher, and they are. We're running about 800, 900 RPMs higher than it did with the 410s, but I think it'll be better in the long run. Definitely less strain on the transmission. But time will tell. I'm in the 500-mile break-in period. And then I'll bring it back to the shop and have them check it, replace the gear oil. And at that point, I'll probably have them put on some aftermarket diff covers. I want to protect that investment. So it's the next day, March 10th, Saturday, and I ran up to Full Parts store to pick up some aftermarket diff covers as well as check out what other sales they had. And of course, they had a big event where a 4x4 club was sponsoring the event and had a couple of wrecked cars out there for people to drive over, which is what I'm poorly attempting to do right now. But it's the end of the day, and I think actually I'm one of the last people to run over the cars. So before I signed the waiver and signed my rights away, stating that the 4x4 club wasn't liable and that 4 Wheel Parts wasn't liable, one of the guys told me that they had a 4x4, I think it was a Jeep as well, go over it earlier, and somehow managed to poke a hole in his oil pan and dropped all of his oil all over everything, and they actually had to pull a flatbed in and tow him off. And I'm thinking, great, I probably shouldn't do this, but I couldn't resist. I mean, how often do you get to drive over some wrecked cars? I've done it before. I think it was back in September. The same store had the similar event where they had some other wrecked cars, and it was a little bit easier back then. But the reason I'm having so much trouble this time is that the wrecked car on the driver's side has got quite a big valley right through the middle of it, so I'm getting hung up, and I'm thinking to myself, man, I'll be the next one to poke a hole in that oil pan, but I don't. I definitely had to readjust, and as the guy was telling me, I need to go a little bit to the right. But I had to test out the new gears. And the other thing is, I've got stock diff covers on there still. During the break-in period, they just threw the stock covers back on, and so I was a little bit worried, but I made it unscathed, thank goodness. So yeah, I just did the 500-mile gear oil change after regear, and as you can see, it was a little bit past 500 miles, 707 miles. But out here in Kansas, where I got this done at, it's a good 40 miles from my house. So, yeah. But they installed the diff covers that I painted up, so I'll show those to you here in a little bit. But I'm jazzed. Everything looked good. Took about 30 minutes to change it out. So they used the lube blocker gaskets instead of the actual RTV silicone. So that'll be nicer over the longer period. I think you can get 2 uses out of the lube blocker before you actually have to replace it. So at least it'll work for me for a little bit.